Okay, Group C. Group C of the Euro 2024 tournament, right? Let's get it, man. So, Slovenia took on Denmark, right? So the score was all square. It was a 1-1 draw. But to be honest, it was a fairly entertaining game. A point apiece. It could only be fair that, both teams walk away with the point, even though I feel like Denmark should have won this game, but it could only be fair. And it was a pretty, entertaining Group C opener. You know, guess who got on the score sheet once again? Christian Eriksen and Eric Janza scored as the Group C encounter between Slovenia and Denmark ended all square. Look, there was actually nothing to choose from between Slovenia and Denmark, right, in this particular game. But it was actually a scintillating encounter in Stuttgart, right? And it was only fair for the game to actually finish 1-1. But look, it was actually Slovenia who fashioned the first clear chance of the game. With Benjamin Sesko, going agonizingly close. As his long-range effort, flew narrowly wide, right? But just a minute later, Denmark took the lead. Jonas Wind did brilliantly, to actually flick a quick throw, you understand? And then Eriksen was just there to chase down and finish with a plumb. The midfielder's goal, it was a wonderful moment in his first match in this tournament since he suffered a cardiac arrest, at the Euro 2020. What a great goal that was, man. Fantastic goal. Slovenia, started the second half, positively. Corner causing a panic in the Denmark box before, Peter Stankovic, put a header wide. And the Danes actually had a glorious chance to actually double their advantage, in the 65th minute. But Rasmus Højlund, he did so well, ever so well to actually meet, Victor Christiansen's wicked cross. But Jan Oblak stood very much tall to actually deny him from close range. That was a great save from the Atletico Madrid goalkeeper. And I think Jan Oblak is so underrated. I mean, he deserves his flowers. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Slovenia, from that particular moment in time, it didn't really deter them that much because Slovenia continued to push. And then moments later, after Sesko struck the post, they finally got their reward. Guess who was it? Eric Janza. Eric Janza's deflected effort, flying past goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel and into the back of the net. And to say that, in the end, to be honest, in my opinion, it was like a fair result. A draw was a fair result between both these teams. And both sides, no doubt, happy to actually avoid defeat to start their campaigns. Serbia up next for Slovenia in Munich on the 20th of June, while Denmark face England in Frankfurt on the same day. So basically, let's just say it like that. Let's put it like that. This Euro is going to get interesting. It is going to get interesting, but let's just hope, all the teams come to the party, because right now I haven't really been impressed with the football that has been displayed, but at least there's goals. There's something to always talk about. And in my opinion, I think Christian Eriksen does deserve the man of the match because, look, his talent is unmatched, his goal, the movement. Wow, man, everything was just brilliant about his performance in this particular game. And it was actually a hard-fought, but a deserved draw against the favorites, And surprisingly, you will say that Denmark are the favorites to actually clinch this tournament because they have won it before. But let's just say it, on the part of Slovenia, it is actually a much deserved draw for them, for their efforts. And they can actually look forward to their next game. The team spirit and the discipline were ever present, and they still actually have all the time to, play for this group. Whereas Denmark had a game where they wanted it, but so did Slovenia. And after a fine start by Denmark, Slovenia accepted their fate. They waited patiently for a chance, and they took it. 1-1 draw is all disappointing result for Denmark, and the pressure is on them from here. But let's see how they perform against England, in that big one, in that big encounter. And it must be noted the fact that Slovenia featured in a Euro match for the first time since 2000. So it's been over 2 decades since they last featured, and they were still waiting for their first victory. They still haven't won yet. Remember, they have lost 2 of their last 15 competitive matches. Okay, and their matches, Cake side have only failed to score in 1 of their last 21 matches. The centre back Jaka Bijol made his 50th appearance for Slovenia. Denmark, on the other hand, remain unbeaten in 7 matches against Slovenia, And this was only the third of Denmark's last 15 Euro group stage matches to actually finish level. Denmark have scored the first goal in their last 6 Euro games. Christian Eriksen became the oldest scorer for Denmark at the Euro tournament at 32 years old and 123 days. Wow, impressive to say the least. Yes, England did get their campaign off to a winning start against Serbia, but look, they will get exposed in the next few games, trust me, because it was not a convincing performance. It wasn't a it definitely was not a convincing performance from England. The Three Lions were just not convincing at all. Yes, Jude Bellingham, congrats once again. He headed the only goal of the game, in Gelsenkirchen, as the Euro 2020 runners-up kicked off their 2024 campaign with a narrow Group C victory over Serbia. Look, I want to repeat it again, it wasn't a convincing performance. And in my opinion, England are one of the favorites, in my opinion. But looking at this performance, no. Nope. They definitely are going to get exposed in the next coming games. They definitely will. Look, England, began promisingly, right? They enjoyed plenty of early possession against opponents who dropped everyone behind the ball at regular intervals, And within 13 minutes, Serbia's game plan had been undone. What a perfectly weighted Kyle Walker pass set up Bukayo Saka for a cross from the right, which just deflected off, sliding, Strancha, Pavlovic, and looped up perfectly for the first arriving Bellingham to actually thump a header past Predrag Ratkovic. Okay? So, from that particular moment in time, yes, England took the lead. But Serbia, look at Serbia's response to that. Serbia threatened with an immediate response. Look at Aleksandar Mitrovic. He just fired narrowly wide, and then Dusan Vlahovic had a shot blocked. But the other end, Saka was very lively. He was dangerous throughout the first half. He released Walker, for a burst into the area, and then, shot across the face of goal. You understand? But look, although England had looked in control, Serbia actually showed more than enough to actually suggest that, they continued to carry a threat. And early in the second half, substitute, Filip, Mladenovic, was actually close to actually providing the finishing touch to Dusan Vlahovic's low-driven cross. But from that particular moment in time, Trent Alexander-Arnold stung Ratkovic's palms as England replied in kind. Although it then took a combination of Jordan Pickford as well as Kieran Trippier to actually prevent Mitrovic from actually forcing an equalizer, And let's just say this. It was a pretty balanced game. But, for a team like England's caliber, for a team that really wants to compete and win this tournament, for me, that was really not much of a convincing performance. For a team that sets its sights on actually clinching silverware this season in a major competition such as this one. You would expect much better from them. But look, give credit to Serbia for actually giving England a great game. It was actually, a tough game for both teams. Look at Serbia's replacements. They reinvigorated the team. Dusan Tadic so nearly played in Luka Jovic, but it was actually England who were the closest to a second goal. Ratkovic parrying a hurricane header against the crossbar, and Pickford did have to push Vlahovic's shot over in the closing stages. But, that was close as Serbia came to an equalizer, but look, give credit to England as well, for defending very well, but I think they're going to have to really improve in terms of performances, because it was just the only goal that Jude Bellingham had in the first half was enough just to get them through, to actually, get them off to a positive start in this tournament. What's interesting is that Serbia has got quite a number of players that have played in the Premier League. Dusan Tadic played for Southampton for many seasons, for a couple of seasons, I meant to say. Aleksandar Mitrovic was on the books of Fulham. He played a pivotal role in them even regaining promotion to the Premier League. He played for them for several seasons. Who else? Yeah. Basically, those guys, So basically, I'm sure England does know these guys. They know them so well. Some of the players in this England squad have played against these particular individuals. So that's why they had a game plan. And perhaps it was easy for them to actually, execute that game plan. But look at Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham's performance, he was very decisive offensively and defensively. He actually managed to cover a lot of ground. And he was involved through the match, and then he even scored the decisive goal. So, Jude Bellingham really impressed me, And let me give you a quick take on the performance of both teams. Two different faces of Serbia, right? They were very reserved, in the first, and they were playful and creative in the second half. They were tactically, disciplined in both defense and attack, and their build-up play was something to actually be, to actually say, it's very commendable, Despite the result, the Eagles should be proud of what they showed in their opening game of the tournament. And, going across to England, ultimately, it was a professional performance. And just the start that, they would have wanted. Based on the first 15 minutes, perhaps they might have actually expected more goals, but they managed the second half very well. And ultimately, tournament football is just about the long game. So Gareth Southgate will be pleased. Yet another reminder that, they needed it. And Bellingham's importance to the team is it cannot be understated. It's very much important for them. So England, it goes without saying the fact that England are unbeaten in their last 12 Euro group stage matches. Since that 2-1 defeat against France in their opening fixture in Euro 2004, that is now 20 years ago. And the Three Lions have not conceded a goal in their last 5 Euro group stage matches. Bellingham, aged 20 years old, 353 days. Bellingham is the youngest player to actually appear in 2 Euro final tournaments. Okay, Bellingham is also England's third youngest Euro, finals goal scorer. Behind Wayne Rooney at 18 years, 237 days in 2004. And Michael Owen was only 20 years old, 189 days in 2000. Harry Kane played in his 12th Euro game, taking him one clear of Gary Neville as England's outright all-time record appearance maker in the tournament. This was Serbia's first Euro match, since 2000. And Serbia have only won one of their last 12 Euro matches. This was only the 4th time that Serbia's last 15 Euro finals games finished in a match where they failed to score. Again. This was it was just one of those games, man, where you knew that a substitute would actually make the difference. And that's exactly what happened. Wout Weghorst coming off the bench in the 81st minute to actually secure, all 3 points for the Netherlands in the opening victory in Group D. And it was, to say the least, Michael, Probras's resilient Poland side, they just couldn't hold on. As a progressive Netherlands, claimed all 3 points in the Group D of the UEFA Euro 2024. And it is the side's first ever meeting in a major tournament. Interestingly. Okay? But what a match it was, man. Because, Wojciech Szczesny was called into immediate action. When Cody Gakpo's drilled effort inside the opening, 120 seconds or so set the tone at Volkspark Stadion. Okay? And it was actually a direct approach from the Netherlands, which seemed to have actually caught a hesitant Poland off guard. And their long balls from deep targeted the heart of the Eagles' backline. And from that particular moment in time, more Dutch pressure ensued. Tejan Rangers, actually dragged wide following a slick combination between Jordi, Scouten, and yet Poland, stayed resolute. They stayed resolute and they actually gained a foothold and promptly, claimed the lead when Adam Bukska outjumped Dutch markers to glance in an excellent, Piotr Zielinski corner. Wow. I mean, That was actually the set of the game. I mean, that goal for Poland actually, it was the beginning of a heated encounter between these two sides on the pitch, because the Oranje responded greatly. Van Dijk unleashed a volley from the edge of the area, requiring Szczesny, the first Polish goalkeeper to appear at 4 Euro tournaments, to parry his effort. Whereas also Memphis Depay went close twice. And then Michael Progress' side, unable to deploy the injured Robert Lewandowski, were brought, back to earth just before, the half hour mark, when Gakpo's, strike from distance deflected past Szczesny, and moments before halftime, Depay, engineered a chance to actually edge the Netherlands ahead, but, he just steered his effort wide. And from that particular moment in time, Xavi Simons, as well as, Memphis Depay, they mastered several quick opportunities, as the Oranje were quick out of the traps, for the second half. And in return, Poland were able to mount a double attack with Jakub Kiewel as well as Zelensky, both testing, Bart, Verbruggen, as well as, Probs, team proceeded to actually enjoy the best spell of the afternoon. However, just as the match seemed destined for a draw, 81st minute substitute, Wout Weghorst, latched onto a Nathan Ake delivery, and he turned in to be the winner 2 minutes and 18 seconds after his emergence. It was actually a disappointing end for Poland, but persistent and Ronald Koeman's replacements paid off for the Dutch, who actually claimed their first victory from a lively encounter in Group D. And to be honest, Cody Gakpo, what a brilliant performance it was from him. He was positive in one-on-one situations, especially in the first half. He worked so well with Ake throughout the match, and ultimately, he scored the first goal. He was actually a clear threat, in behind with his stature and his pace, and he actually made the difference for the Netherlands, especially in the first half, right? And, when I evaluate both teams, their performance in this game, Poland, will be disappointed that they didn't hold for a point, but it was actually a good, performance from them. Not many expected, their side, to actually get anything out of the game, playing without their talisman, Robert Lewandowski, to actually take on the Netherlands in the way they did. And it looked like it would pay off up until Weghorst's late intervention. But nevertheless, things, do look promising ahead of the game against Austria. Whereas on the side of the Dutch, the Netherlands had to come from behind to actually make a winning start. And it looked like they would have to settle for a draw, having lacked the tempo at times. But, Szczesny was also in fine form, and we can't take that away from him. But the Oranje, to be honest, the Netherlands, they lacked that clinical edge, But Weghorst, climbed off the bench to actually score the winner and actually complete the turnaround. But let's hope the Dutch don't get exposed in the next coming games or so, And Netherlands are basically unbeaten in their last 13 matches against Poland in all competitions. Their last defeat was actually a 2-0 home, victory in the 1980 qualifying campaign. And that was their last defeat, right? And the Dutch have now beaten 18 different nations at the European Championship. Only Germany have beaten more. And then Poland have just won 2 of their last 15 matches at the tournament. Basically, this goes with excluding shootouts. With both victories coming in the 2016 group stages, Wojciech Szczesny is the first player to appear in 4 Euro final tournaments. And another man who made history was Bart Verbruggen, the Netherlands goalkeeper, aged 21 and 303 days. He became the youngest goalkeeper to appear at a Euro since Spain's Jose Angel Irbra, at 21 years old, 108 days in 1964. Cody Gakpo has scored in 4 successive major tournament group matches for the Netherlands, as well as Adam Bukska became the 4th Poland player to score on their Euro debut after Robert Lewandowski, as well as Milik and Karel Linetti. Wout Weghorst scored the fastest goal by a Netherlands substitute at the Euro, 2 minutes, 18 seconds after coming off the bench. This match was actually the first ever meeting between Poland and Netherlands at a major tournament. Right. So, Le Bleu, Le Bleu, Le Bleu. I just love saying that so much, Le Bleu. So yeah, France, basically, they've hit the ground running in the UEFA 20, the UEFA Euro 2024 Group D campaign. It was basically by a matter of fortune that actually led to France actually winning this game, because it was a very close game. I was very impressed with Austria's performance. I think both teams wanted it more, and that's what actually made the game so interesting, that it was only won via those fine margins. Those thin, fine margins? Yeah. That's exactly what often happens in international football, in competitive international football like this, in tournaments like this, where both teams really wanted very much so, where both teams are solid and they are compact and they make it difficult to break each other down. Yeah. And it's all in those fine margins. So yeah, Le Bleu, it was just the narrow win for them. You understand? So let's just do it like this. France, let's just congratulate them. You understand? They are obviously the favorites to actually win this tournament in Germany, right? Alongside, the hosts, alongside Spain, alongside Portugal, even though I'm not convinced by them yet. But look, they are along the favorites, amongst the favorites, right? So France, they begin their bid for glory in the UEFA 2024, with a 1-0 victory over Austria. It was an unfortunate own goal by Maximilian Weber, who actually steered in Kylian Mbappe's cross into his own net. It was just unfortunate, man. You understand? Great work by Mbappe, eliminating the defender. What he does best, man. Step over, going on the other side, put the cross in the ball in a dangerous, area, in the box, and then obviously, that's how you do it. I mean, Mbappe is a clever player. I mean, that was just clever play. You understand? And it shows that the boy is a very intelligent footballer. So, look, aiming to actually reach their fourth final in, the five, it's like now France are basically aiming to reach their fourth final in their last 5 major tournaments. So France found Austria to be a very, let's just say, tenacious rivals, from the start. Even so, slick interplay down the left presented them with the first chance of the game on 8 minutes. Kylian Mbappe, of course, at the thick of the action, sent free by Adrien Rabiot, forcing the goalkeeper Patrick, Pence to actually make a low save at his near post. And then shortly afterwards, France continued. A Teo Hernandez delivery, close to the byline, flew invitingly, across the goal. But Austria's renowned intensity allowed them to actually limit the flow, to France's danger men. And Ralf Rangnick's men were very energetic and quick in the challenges. And they almost took the lead themselves when Marcel, Sabitzer flicked, Michael, Gregorich's cross down to, Christoph Gardner. Remember Puam Gardner, he's the player who has the record of scoring the quickest goal in international football. So he could not, slip his shot past, the onrushing Mike Magnan, right? So it was just like a game of both sides. It was a very balanced game, very even. Both teams, going at one another, both teams looking to cancel one another out. And it was obviously going to be won via the fine margins, at which it was won, right? And it was instead, France who did strike, first moments later. Mbappe's quick feet earning him space down the right, for a cross which was like the unfortunate Maximilian Weber headed into his own net. You understand? So the France captain, who left the game late on with a nose injury, then spurned a fine opportunity to double the advantage in the second half. I mean, I was expecting Mbappe to actually put that one in the back of the net. A player of his quality, a player of his caliber, you would expect him to put the ball in the back of the net. But unfortunately, he just curled wide after beating Weber to a ball over the top. But I guess, it happens, right? It happens to the greatest footballers. They do miss chances that you don't expect them to miss, but it happens. It's part of football, right? So that was like the cue for Austria to press their case. I bet while leaving spaces, which France's forwards threatened to exploit. Antoine Griezmann, again, just failing to slide in from across, and Thuram having an effort also saved. And in the end, their solitary goal as well as their solidarity at the back, proved enough to actually take the 3 points. And guess what, man? I would just say France actually did play well. Even Austria did play well, but it was a game of, both sides. They should have really, it was very difficult to break one another down. France did have those fine moments. And France, remember, are very fortunate to have speed on the wings. So it becomes very easy for them to actually exploit, those gaps that Austria leaves behind. And that's what Mbappe, did several times, But look, it was actually a great victory for France, a much important victory. And this actually sends out a statement in terms of their quest for glory in Germany. So look, let's hope they can keep it up, and let's hope, going in the game against Netherlands, they can keep up this one, because, hey, man, it's going to be a great game of football to actually watch. Netherlands versus France, two of Europe's powerhouses, you understand, going head to head in Leipzig. It's actually going to be a very interesting one. And let's talk about one player in particular. N'Golo Kante. Yes, N'Golo Kante. It's that same old saying where we say, form is temporary, class is permanent. Form is temporary, class is permanent. And that's exactly what I saw with N'Golo Kante. Form is temporary, class is permanent, guys. Kante, he won a lot of balls. He blocked Austria in the middle of the pitch. He played some very good passes forward. He also provided a covering challenge as the last man, So it tells you one thing, that Kante is still a classy player, irregardless of age. He's just aging like fine wine. At the age of 33, still, playing like a 24-year-old player. Wow. That's, amazing to me, man. And if I'm to evaluate both sides, their performance in general, right? It wasn't the sensation, Austria were hoping to pull off, but there is no shame in a narrow defeat against the tournament favorites, okay? Rangnick's charges, made France's life uncomfortable in all areas of the pitch. We can agree to that. With the type of performance that could stand them in a good stead against Poland as well as the Netherlands, okay? And you look at France on the other hand. France, will have wanted to show slightly more attacking endeavor, during the second half. But, teams can't always be at their, swashbuckling, best. And the start of the tournaments, you understand? The most important thing is to pick up all 3 points, regardless of how it's done, And France, remember, were dominant and resolute at the back while looking fluid. And if not quite, fearsome, some going forward onto the next one. Hopefully, we might see a better performance in terms of like attack-wise. But, this is France. This is Le Bleu. They've got the quality to do it. So remember, France have never lost their opening match in a Euro 2020, in a Euro final tournament group stage, right? And Le Bleu have only lost one of their last 11 games against Austria. So only 2 of France's last 20 Euro matches have finished scoreless. France have failed to score just once in a Euro group stage opener, which came against Romania in 2008. It was a goalless draw. Olivier Giroud became only the second player after Lilian Thuram to make an appearance in 4 Euro final tournaments for France. Austria have won only 2 of their last 11 Euro matches. And this was Austria's second loss in their last 17 games overall. And Austria failed to score for the first time in 18 matches. You have to date back to the 2-0 defeat in the UEFA Nations League against France, the very same opponents in September 2022.